Hello and welcome to Office Hours again from Nordcraft. I hope you're all having a tremendous day. I only broke production once today. Eric reviewed my changes, so we both take full responsibility, but it's fixed. Welcome in. Today, perfect emoji, Yoshi. Today, we are going to be focusing on the new documentation. We have Eric joining us to talk about the infrastructure of the docs, and he might talk about some of the things that me and him have been working on this week, which are very clever, I have to admit. And then we'll be joined by Max from Spark Agency, who will talk to us about the docs project in Nordcraft, in the Nordcraft editor, and how we are integrating GitHub content into the editor to facilitate our open source mission and to get you all involved in helping with the docs and getting some contributions under your belt. And then I will be going through the contribution process. I will be selecting a very tiny issue. I will be submitting the pull request, and I will be asking Eric to review it for me. And I'm going to be doing all of that on my machine via Git, even though you can do this in the browser in GitHub as well. And I'll show you that too. So we are ready to begin. Please welcome Eric, who will talk to us about the infrastructure of the docs and all the fun stuff we've been working on. Hi, Eric.
Hello. Thank you for the kind introduction. Yes. Yeah, where should I start? I mean, we've been working on the new docs for a while, together with Max and Franz from Spark Agency, and the initial take was, or the initial requirements was that we needed a way for everyone to be able to contribute, and GitHub is really great at that. As you said, Selma, it's even possible to contribute without knowing anything about Git, version control, or VS Code, or whatever editor you're using. One of the issues, though, was that in Nordcraft, we can't do server-side rendering of raw HTML, or in this case, Markdown. So we needed some sort of layer in between the Nordcraft front end and GitHub as the content provider. So that's what we built. I'll just briefly walk you through the repository, what it does, how we use it, and then, as you said, some of the features we've been working on this week. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll see if I can answer them as we go along. So the repository is or sort of consists of the docs, which is here, and you will see that we have all the different docs here. So you, with different Markdown files on. Can you see my screen? Max can't. Okay, he's old. Got it. People are seeing it. That's good. So it's all just Markdown files, but with a few embedded or special embeds that Max and Franz built. So most of it is standard Markdown. You have like a way to indicate what level of headings you're using, but we also have, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, we have like this annotation here is specific to our project, and it's a way for us to embed web components inside of the docs, so we can pass this on the backend, transform it into JSON, send it off to the Nordcraft application, and then we can render it. If you're curious on how we built the front end, Max is going to talk more about that, and you can also clone the documentation project directly from docs.nordcraft.com if you want. So this is all the content, and then when we get requests in from the front end, we serve an application, and that is in this proxy folder. So here we have a few, close this one. We have a few endpoints. So for instance, you can just get some content. In this case, you can specify the owner, the repository, the branch, and the path. And this is useful because this allows us actually to preview things from branches in GitHub that are not live yet. And that's really useful. I'm just going to show you an example real quick. So I'm going to stop streaming. And I'm going to share this one instead. So this is our beautiful docs. So if you go here and I zoom in, thank you, Casper. If you turn on this mode equals preview in the top or in the URL, you'll see this beautiful dialog down here. And now by default, it uses the main branch of the repo to serve the content. But in my case, I made a very important change to this section up here. So I'm going to change the branch here. Where is it? Yeah, okay, it looks a bit fun. But so here I added some interesting information about our launch preferences. And that is currently something you can see in, let me find the pull request here. So this is the pull request where I added this section about our launch. And you can go and preview that on the docs without having to deploy anything. And that's really useful when you work on new content. So the application itself, allows us to fetch things directly from GitHub, which can be very, very useful. Let me go back to the repository. Here. Now, if the obviously we can fetch things directly from GitHub, which is great, especially for previewing purposes. When we hit production, though, we want to make sure that things are super, super fast. And to do that, we ensure that on every new pull request that goes live in the code base, we statically build all the pages as part of the proxy that we then deploy. So let me show you real quick here. So in the proxy, when I start the application, in this case, I'm writing .dev, you can see that it builds a lot of files, and it does this for using something called Wrangler, which is Cloudflare's way of working with their Cloudflare workers. So instead of fetching all the content from GitHub for every request that comes in, we actually build all the files locally so that we can read them locally, which is much, much faster. So in this case, you can see we have a folder called contributors. Let me see if I can find it in this dist folder. So we have contributors. So this is where we have fetched all the contributors for a specific page, in this case, the about page. And we can serve this within 20, 30 milliseconds rather than having to go over to GitHub first and then send the response back. So we pre-build contributors, and we also pre-build all the docs so that they are available as assets to the worker itself. Yes? Any questions so far? No?
What else do we pre-build, Eric?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So in this week, we have been playing around with a few approaches. So one of them is that we would like to show you all, and our AI and Google and other search engines, what are all the formulas you can use in Nordcraft. And since this is sort of dynamic, we needed a more dynamic approach. So this is the page definition for the formulas, but it doesn't have any of the formulas because the formulas are something that we generate as part of our internal, well, the open source Nordcraft repo. So to inject these, we do that on build. And let me see if I can find it here. So again, in the dist folder, so that's what we are going to deploy to Cloudflare. You will see that the references here includes all of the formulas that we have in Nordcraft. So this is a very long document. And the way we do this is during our build, let me see if I can find it.
It's in bin lib references.
Thank you. Here it is. So we make sure that we go and fetch all the references from our API. This is like a public URL. It's also the one we use in the editor actually to list all the formulas. Then we go through them and we render them with these different templates that I've set up. So we have a very small template for a formula. And if, say, Selma wanted to change the heading levels, you could do that. But then I just inject the name and description, and we do the same for the formulas arguments and their specific arguments here. So yeah, as I said, we do this on deploy and also locally so that we so we can inject these before it goes live. And then we want to show the final page on the front end. Thank you. Let me see if I can share that one. So we go to references here and formulas. And now we see all of the formulas here beautifully formatted. So if I wanted to know more about the concatenate formula, I could go here and read how that works. And we are trying to improve this as we go. But this is a good reference for all of you, but also for, as I said, for our new AI that Christian is working on, and also for Google to index what we can do.
Thank you for surfacing that bug on the concatenate description. So it highlights that it's kind of the back end, the JSON for the formulas is now serving two purposes. And so now I've been going through all of them to attempt to present them for the documentation. Big job. But if anyone does find anything, if they are browsing those references, then you could submit an issue on GitHub as well, which will help out very much if you notice anything. So that's cool.
Yes. And there are like a few things that I didn't mention. So we have the search up here that uses TypeSense, which is an open source search engine, which allows you to search the entire docs. And we sort of build the index for the search whenever we do a new deploy. So that is also up to date. So yeah, so for instance, I could search for now, and then we'll find that there's a formula called now in the formula section.
So when Eric and I were discussing how to build this, one of the main things that we wanted was that the content of the formulas and the actions references needed to be indexable by search, which obviously they weren't on the old docs. And we came up with loads of different solutions, but the one that won was the one that prioritized the indexing in the search. So I think that was a big win there. Go team.
Yes. And we don't have a lot of other integrations, but the last one I want to mention is that we use ClickHouse internally as a database. So if you happen to end up on a page that you really like, at the bottom you can say, was this helpful? Yes, very much. I liked it. And then we are sending that request to ClickHouse, and we are sort of gathering feedback on pages that you like or dislike.
And please be descriptive if you do tell us that you do not like it, because we would like to improve it. It doesn't help if you just say it was
Absolutely.
bad.
And as I said, I'm not sure I said it, but the whole repository here that Salma is going to dive more into in a bit is open source, and so is the proxy backend in case you wanted to build something similar for another project of yours.
Yes. Casper asks, can I also type questions in there? I mean, you can. We are looking at the data. Go wild, I guess, but it's probably better to, if you want a discussion and an answer of your question, then go to GitHub or the Discord.
Yes. So down here, you'll see that there's a link to edit the article. So if you wanted to edit this specific one, it's going to open up GitHub. So there are links directly, either for the different pages, and also if you wanted to know who is Salma, you could click her image and see that she is also on GitHub.
Stuff. Eric added that little feature earlier this week, and I think that's a wonderful one. Get those backlinks to your GitHub profile.
Yes,
anyway, thank you very much, Eric.
You're welcome.
If we have no further questions, I am going to invite Max to speak on the stage, which takes me forever to do because people always move about. See, look, every time I try and invite someone, they're already there before I've got to do it. Please welcome Max. Round of applause for Max from Spark Agency, the team who built the first version of the Nordcraft docs. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. Actually, we built the last version of the Toddle docs and the first version of the Nordcraft docs because apparently you guys had to rename in the middle of the project. It was a fun experience for us as well.
Definitely fun.
This was the first.
You can handle it. You handled it. You handled it very well.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Franz did it. So he did a good job.
All right, great. I'm going to go off camera and you're going to present the Nordcraft documentation project in the Nordcraft editor.
Yes, and feel free to ask questions. And you too, Salma, whatever is interesting to you. I basically built this one, so everything is pretty obvious. And it's a little hard to point out the things that might be interesting for people. So I'll just go through it myself. How do you do this? Applications, devices.
Oh, you do that. And I guess this is very good for me because I've kind of like inherited this project now. So the more I know, the better as well. There's like a thing that appears at the top of your screen. There you go. You did it.
Yeah.
Great job.
I'm not a big fan of the UX of Discord. Maybe I'm just getting old.
Same. I feel the same.
And maybe we're both getting old. So I'm not sure if that helps any of us. Anyways, thank you for having me. I will just briefly go through the project of the docs in it says Toddle still here, but it's Nordcraft now.
You are sharing the wrong screen, Max.
Am I?
Yes, you're sharing the Discord window.
Okay, but I'm sharing. That's exactly my screen that I'm sharing. But it doesn't show my app. Make selection. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, does it?
I see now. It does not. So can you see my screen now?
Wow, it's all warped and tilted, and it's still the Discord window. Oh no!
You gotta be kidding me.
What's happening?
How does this? I'm really trying not to curse currently. Let me see.
Are you sharing a whole application or a window?
Oh, it says
or a screen.
I can say screen share or gaming. I'm going for gaming because I feel like a gamer. Then it says show this window or show all windows.
Yeah, so I haven't had any luck with that. I just share the entire screen which if you when you click on the make, so it'll appear at the top of you. There you go. There you go.
Damn it, man. Sweating already. That was hard. That was hard. Next time it's in Teams again. There you go. All right. Basically, this is a very simple application, or I wouldn't even call it an application. It's a CMS front end. So it displays the things that Eric showed us in the back end in a pretty way. And that's all it does. So there is no real logic to it. There are some nice features like the zoom overlays for images, but basically it's a very simple setup. And what we do is we have 3 pages. One is the feature flags that we kind of added because we always do, but we're not using it currently. We have the 404 and the home. So it's a single page application or a single page website. And this one has just 2 API calls. One is the get data and the get menu API call. And what we do is we call that exact same worker that Eric just showed us, which
Casper
is the
is requesting a bit of Zoom, please, Max. Sorry.
A bit of Zoom. How do you do that? Like that?
There you go. That's good. That's good.
Nice. So this is the worker that Eric just showed us. It's docsproxy.toddle.workers.dev. And the path that we gather from the path we have in the front end. So we have 2 path parts, path 01, 02. And from those 2, we build with the worker URL, the URL we need to pull the data from the worker. So this one goes to the worker URL, content, Nordcraft Engine, which is the repository, documentation, which, Nordcraft Engine is the organization, documentation is the repository, and main is the branch, and here we have the path. So basically what we're saying here is, give us the information or the content of the page, get started, overview, which is that one. And based on that, we get the data. No, not doing here. There's the content section. And in the content section, we have the page content. I do have a formula for that. I knew it. And this is how we get the data here. So it's because Eric mentioned that we cannot render Markdown server-side in Nordcraft that easily. We have to have a repeatable structure, which is basically a JSON array that gives us all the sections. And that is what we get. We get a section depth 1, which is the first one, an H1, more or less, with the title, and the tokens are the children again. So the content of this one. And with that information, we render this beautiful thing here. And the second API call is for the menu structure. It's always the same because the menu doesn't really change during browsing. And this just gives me the menu as an array as well. And those are all the information that we need to give you a nice documentation site. And as you can see, it's a pretty clean setup. There is not much there. Basically, the main functionality happens in side menu, content, and maybe the talk menu here. And that's all it is. Do you want to see how we render the Markdown? Because that is, I think, the most interesting part of this. Or
it is
there...
definitely an interesting part. Let's see it.
Yeah, because basically, I think, I'm not sure, it's just a regular setup. There's nothing special here. We have a sidebar, we have a top bar, and the content. And the only, I wouldn't say tricky part, but unusual part is maybe the Markdown itself. The Markdown is one component. And okay, we have this one component is just for structure. You don't really need it. But the actual one is the Markdown repeat. the markdown repeat is, as the name suggests, an repeat item. So we take the complete markdown. This is an example data. I think this is even, it still says about Toto. Man, this is example data, which has the sections that we saw in the API call. So we have section 1, ID about Toto. Section 2, traditional development. I'm pretty sure it says somewhere here that AI tools might be crap or something like that. That is me still. It's test data. However, we repeat over that. So for every item we get in the array, we render one of those markdown repeats. And the markdown repeat actually has all the possible content parts in there that we need to display the page. So the page can be or can consist of paragraphs, strongs, text, list item, link, and so on. So basically all the individual items. And what the markdown repeat does is that we go through that list we get from the backend. And for each type, we render the appropriate item here. So we usually start with the heading. Where is it? No, it's called section. So we usually start with the section, then it's a paragraph, then it's a list, then there are 3 list items, then it's a new section again. So basically this goes over all individual items and renders them to be nice HTML for the browser to display. And it does so recursively. That means that many items in HTML can have children, and those children can often be any other kind of HTML elements. Like, for example, if we go in the Markdown section, we have the actual content of that section. This is the headings and a tooltip around it for the copy button. And then we have the Markdown repeat again. So it renders itself in a nested structure, so that in a heading, we could have a part that is strong. So it's heading, strong, and heading again. And that way we can basically build anything that comes from Markdown or comes from HTML. It's a really nice feature in almost said Toto, in Nordcraft. Yes. And that's basically it. I know that recursion is a little hard to grasp here and there, and I don't want to explain it too much here because it can take a long time. I think that Andreas made a video on that at some point, but that is, I think, the most interesting part. I want to show you 2 things in the docs that I really like. Actually, those were ideas from Eric, at least one of those. And this is the live view of the screenshots. So what we did, or what Franz did an amazing job on the screenshots. We always have a larger option so that you can actually see what's going on. And for many things, we have this live button. And if you click the live button, you get into the editor at exactly that point where we took this screenshot. So remember that screen? It says cards here. We have content here. And this is exactly the same one as here. So the idea is that when we explain a concept, you can go to the exact place where it is in the editor usually. And it's similar with the components. Let me see. We have on styling, conditional styles. There are example blocks here and there. They are marked with example, and they usually explain one concept in isolation and one small concept in isolation. And what you can do, you can click on the open button, and this will show you this exact component that we use as an example so that you can see how we built it. So if this explains, for example, I'm not sure what this is, style variants. Let's go with class-based styles. Here we have class-based styles. So if I want to know how to apply classes to something or how to apply conditional style with a class, I can go to that example, see, I have a class here, it's selected, and it's applied when isCard selected is true. So the intention behind that is that if you are searching for a concept, you can easily find it in the docs and can see it live in the editor, because sometimes it's really hard to explain things. And this might help, I think.
I think compared to traditional code-based documentation, I think this was a real challenge that you overcame, actually, because normally you can just copy and paste a bit of code and put it in your IDE and then see it working or not. And this, obviously, it skips that step and it puts you right in the environment where you'll be building. And I think that was very, very clever.
Well, in traditional coding, there are sometimes the environments like CodePen or stuff like that, where you can show things, but those are pre-built. So we had to come up with something that works for a visual environment. But yeah.
Really, really nice. And go on.
Yeah. No, that's it basically. I'm not too sure what to show in this project, because for me, it's pretty clear what it does. If there are specific questions to this or whatever questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you have some suggestions, Selma, what I should show. But basically, that's it. It's a nice project. We thought it would be an inspiration for builders who are maybe not too familiar with components or structuring, things like that. So we tried to keep it as simple and as clean as possible.
I was going to say to people, don't forget, you can clone this project and make use of all the fun things done in it, especially the recursive markdown repeater. Now, we do have 5 more minutes, so we have people asking to see how you built the scroll worm for the right sidebar.
The scroll worm, yeah, I'm a bit proud of that.
You should
that
be.
That one was tricky. And honestly, I spent most of the time for the scroll worm and the zoom feature for the screenshots. So the basic structure wasn't that hard. Let's see, where is it? It's in both. It's in the sidebar. There it is. So basically, what does this do? We have in, I think it's the main layout context, we store which sections are currently active. And active means they are currently on the screen. A section, for example, is from conditional styles, from this one until here. So it's from one headline to the next headline. And I'm storing which of those are currently visible on the screen and what are their IDs. And based on that information, I can say, okay, it's 2, so it should be 2 times this high. I know this height. And I know their names, so I can see, I know their names, so which one are currently active, and I know all of them because I render them anyways. So I know which position is the first one, and I know how high this should be, the height of the whole thing. And this gives me all the information to just say, this is the first item, and 2 items are currently active. So this worm thingy should be 2 times this high. And as soon as I scroll, those change because each section has an intersection observer in them. So if I go back, markdown section, here's the intersection observer. And the intersection observer fires when this comes into view or goes out of view. So when it goes into view, it adds itself to this list. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Add active section. The ID is probably section ID. Not sure where this is coming from. Okay, it's from the attributes. So as soon as this is visible, it will add it. This is fired on enter, and on leave, it's remove active section. So each section tells the observer, not the observer, the context. Now I'm here, now I'm gone. And this is all the information that I need to render the worm here. And then I have a debounce on it. So when it just changed, it will change to highlight color. And then debounce, I think, 200 milliseconds to unhighlight again. And as long as I'm scrolling, this debounce never runs out. But when I stop scrolling, it becomes not active again. Yeah.
Too good, Max.
Any request? Yeah. Honestly, we didn't want to have one because they're always lying. Usually they're wrong because you can see more than one. And sometimes you can see neither. And so we were like, okay, let's find a way that is accurate, actually. And we're pretty happy with that one.
I think people might end up stealing that for other similar UI patterns.
I hope so. The internet deserves more accurate role indicators.
Yes. Brilliant. All right. Well, that wraps up that section. If you have any other questions for Max, Max is in the Discord all the time, or, tag us if you want to know more, because it's that this repository is mine also now. So I will be getting to know more about it and how it works if anybody wants to know. So really, thank you very much for showing us, Max. Super amazing project. And I am very happy to inherit a project like this that is so clean and so good.
Again, if you have questions, in Discord I'm usually around, and I like exact questions. So how did you build this is I sat down and built it. But if you want to know how this thing works or why we needed that variable, probably I won't remember, but I will take a look and see if I can figure out what I did there.
Good tip on asking questions. Yes, very good. All right.
Thank you
so much, Max. Round of applause for Max. Claps in the chat because I don't have my sound effects. We are now moving on to how do you contribute to the docs if you so wish. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm old. So let's hope that this works. Look at that. It worked. I'm getting used to it. Right. So on GitHub, we have the Nordcraft documentation repository. It's pinned to the top if you go on GitHub. Even if you do click on edit article, you'll be able to get there by clicking on the documentation repo there. And to find outstanding issues on there, you will go to the Issues tab. Now, you don't need a GitHub account to browse this. You can view this while you're signed out. So Vale, I will actually be giving you a free course at some point soon. I'm building a new free course for Nordcraft. It's going to be good, but that is not what we're talking about now. I hope it's going to be good. Anyway, so here are all the issues. Now, some of the issues that if you're new to Git and GitHub and contributing and open source, you might want to pick an issue that has the label good first issue on. And you'll be able to go into the issue and find out more details. So this one, I said, I'll show you the contributing guide on the docs in a moment. And it talks a little bit about Git. And I thought it would be useful to include a link to the Git version control in case anybody wanted to read a little bit more about it. So if I go to the contributing down here, contribution, when we get down here, look, where's my scroll worm? Oh yeah, I haven't scrolled, so the scroll worm's not going to be there, is it? Contributing via GitHub. So Since the Nordcraft documentation is hosted on GitHub, you'll need to follow standard Git workflows to contribute. So I think down here, it would be nice to show a tip or an info call out to say, if you want to know more about Git, then go to this link to get started. So these are the instructions. I have already forked the repository. Now, if you have installed Git on your machine, and I think most machines come with Git, although if you are on Mac OS, you'll need to install Xcode developer tools if you haven't done that before, but the command prompt in your terminal will tell you how to do it. So I've forked the repository and I've cloned it locally. Now, what you can do as well in here is you'll find when you click on the code button, the instructions on how to clone this. Now, if you're going to use HTTPS, you'll need to add an SSH key to your machine, which is a nightmare, but there are guides on the internet to do that. Follow the instructions letter by letter. Do not miss any step. Even me, it's difficult adding a new SSH key to GitHub on a new machine and creating one. And you can also use the GitHub CLI if you are so inclined. So you can copy these commands here and you'll head over to your terminal. So I'm going to go back to this issue. And I've got my documentation repository here. So I'm going to go into the documentation repository, and I need to check out main. I had not prepared for this properly at all. Let me just pull in main just to check that it's all up to date. Okay, right. So I'm going to create a new branch. Now, what you'll probably need to do if you are not a member of the Nordcraft Engine organization is you'll need to fork this to your own account and then clone it from your own account, and then you'll be able to do a pull request that way. Oh, yes, I mean, homebrew it, yes. See that I'm old. I'm so old. But, you know, it's all fine. You can do everything via homebrew if you so wish. So I'm going to create a new branch. I'm on the main repo, but you might be doing it on yours. And you'll do that by creating a new branch. And I'm going to do add. I'm going to call my branch something descriptive that describes what I am doing. So add link to Git docs. Okay, my branch is created and I'll be able to push to that. And I will show you the preview of all of that afterwards. So where am I? I am in the wrong repository. Here is the code repository. So I'm going to go to the contributing guide. So I'm going to find that in docs and contributing, in guides and contribution, and down here. And then the Git instructions were near the bottom. So there are, on the contributing guide, there are also ways to, it tells you how to create these types of things. Now, it's not clear on the front end how you actually highlight these things inside the markdown file, but it does tell you in the actual markdown. So if you go to near the top of the markdown, it tells you how to show those particular callouts. So I think I'm going to use a tip, and I'm going to copy a tip here, and I'm going to put it down here. I want a nice green tip because it's helpful practices and advice. If you're new to Git, does Git have a capital G? Yes. If you're new to Git version control, check out the official documentation. Now I'm going to put a link around it, official Git documentation. But I'm also going to do something, I'm going to do this for reasons, and you'll see why in a minute. It was hard to do that without you noticing. Right, so here is my new thing that I am wanting to add. So if you learn about Git, you'll learn about what this bit does next. So I'm going to do a Git status to see what files I've changed. I've only changed the contribution index MD file, and that's good. Some people will like to add all changes at once without looking at them with git add dot, and sometimes you don't know what's changed and you might add some changes that you don't want to add because you need to keep your pull requests nice and small and succinct to make it easier for the reviewer. So I am going to add, this is how I how I stage my chunks gradually, right? So this, I can say yes or no if I want to stage this change, and the green shows what's changed. So I'm going to say yes. And now I'm going to add a commit, and I'm going to say added link to the Git docs, and I'm going to push it. Now, when you then go to your GitHub front end account, it will give you a little, if I go here, it will say, oh, look, you've done a push to this branch, so you can compare and pull requests. But before I do a pull request, I am going to use the preview feature on here to check my changes. Mode equals preview. Hang on. Why is that not previewing? I think it's because I've got a little this thing here. Mode equals preview. Okay. So I know I'm on Nordcraft Engine documentation, and my branch is called add link to Git docs. So add link to Git docs, update. And down here, if you're new to Git version control, check out the official Git documentation. That's cool. I haven't noticed my typo yet. So I'm going to compare and pull request this. Right, so I've added the link to the Git docs. And what we also want to do is, when we are doing these pull requests, we want to reference the issue that we are fixing. So this is 199. You can just copy the link to this. And in here, you can say it fixes that, and GitHub will close that issue automatically when this is merged. This PR adds a link to the Git documentation for those that are new. And then there's a checklist to go down. So this is just a documentation update, nothing too big. And my checklist, my changes follow the formatting guidelines. I've used a nice tip. I have performed a self-review of my changes. I've tested links to ensure they point to valid pages. That's a valid link. There we go. And that's pretty much all that's... I have checked my changes for spelling and grammatical errors, but I'm old and it's been a long day. So I haven't necessarily been very, very accurate. So I'm going to create this pull request right now. And I am going to request a review right now from Eric, because Eric knows what's up. And I'm going to see the changes that I made here. So now Eric is going to come in and review my changes and tell me how well I did and approve them if they are good enough. And this should update pretty soon. And we'll be able to see how Eric has reviewed it. Please see feedback. Oh dear, what have I done wrong? So what's also great, thank you, Eric. What's also great about this is that the reviewers to your PRs can suggest changes that you can commit directly to the PR in GitHub. So you don't need to go back to your code and change it and make a new commit and then push it. So Eric has rightfully corrected my documentation typo. So I can commit here directly to that, fix the typo, and I can then say this, I've done it, it's all good. I can enable this auto merge, which is a squash. So what this means is that some pull requests may have multiple commits, because it's always good practice to commit very little and often to keep track of your changes. When you squash a commit, it squashes all the small commits into one commit that goes into main, which keeps things nice and clean. So I'm going to confirm that. And then when Eric has approved it, after I've done the requested changes, he has approved it, and then it will automatically be merged and closed. And that means that the issue here has gone, because it will be enclosed because I added the fixes, that number, to the pull request, which did that automatically. And now we can go to the live site and go back to main. And here is the new addition to the documentation. And rebase your branches when possible indeed. Now, I don't really want to get into a merge and rebase conversation right now because it's very controversial. But make sure that when you are working for in code and say you want to add, if I wanted to add a new branch right now, I'd make sure to check out main and pull in those changes and branch off from those main changes, because this repository isn't that active right now, so you probably won't come across any conflicts. And hopefully the way we've done the issues means that you won't be working on the same issue across multiple people. But so Git is something that you got to learn as you do it, and you will come across problems, and we are here to help. So does anybody have any questions about that? I do also want to call out that we got another PR from someone who doesn't work at Nordcraft today as well, and I don't even think they're in the Discord, but they fixed a good first issue, actually, which I reported, where there was again, the documentation was a little bit too up to date, and there was something that needed to be Toddle and not Nordcraft. So Kuldeep came in and changed this little thing that we needed, and completed the checklist, and it's all good, and it was successfully merged and closed. So that is how you get involved. And also, if you do get involved, you will see your face at the bottom of the page that you contributed to, which is always nice. Now, I know we have only 5 minutes left, and we normally have a bit longer for Q&A, but I really wanted to showcase the great work that everyone's been doing on the docs, and how you can get involved, because this will only thrive even further if you want to get involved. It will give you experience in working with Git. It will give you something to put on your CV. You can see your face on our docs, and it will only help us make the documentation better for you. Open source contribution isn't just submitting PRs also. It's also submitting issues if you find them. So if there's anything you see that needs improving on the docs, as well as using the little ClickHouse emoji rater at the bottom, please submit issues and tell us what we can do better. Do I have to do all that terminal magic to contribute? No, you do not. So I did mention earlier that what you can do is, if you wanted to edit this article without doing all that magic, you can click edit article. Now, let me just do a bit of I'll do a little test one. All right, this is a test. Now you can just edit this, okay? And then you can click commit changes. Now this will create a new branch automatically. Now this just says here, you can't commit to main because it's a protected branch, which is for security and to prevent me and Eric breaking production completely. So what this will do is we'll create a new branch, and it will patch it to your account. So this will fork the documentation repository to, if you're not a member of the organization, and add it to the repository, it will fork it to your account, and it will create a branch for you, and then you can go through the process. I'm doing the same thing. Well, you know, it's been a long day. I'll go back. I'll do it again. I'll do it again. Right. So, okay. At the bottom of every page is an edit article button. You can click that button, and this will open GitHub for you. You can make any change to this page, such as this is a test. And if you go right up here and you click commit changes, added some test text, and then if you click propose changes, this will, if you're not a member of the organization, create a branch and a fork in your account, which you can then pull request into ours, or if you're a member of the organization, it will do that. So now the pull requests are here. And so that created my branch, and then this CTA will appear here, and you can do the same process again. Excellent. So that's how you do it. So you can do it via Git. There's some information for Git, or you can do it via GitHub without even touching code on your machine if you just want to fix a typo. And then we will review it for you and help you through with your contributions. So again, want to reiterate that open source contributions is not just code, it's issues and suggestions as well. And like Eric says, if something pops in or help or bugs, let's try and link people to the docs as much as possible. And if the doc's not up to date or covering it, create an issue, and the cycle continues and everything gets better, and we all are empowered to make amazing apps with Nordcraft. And that about wraps it up for today. I'm going to end it there because it's been a great one. I think this has been my favorite office hours of the series so far, actually, because it was a nice little story wrapped up in some great showcases. So thank you everyone for joining me. If you have any questions, ask them in general or help or suggestions in the Discord. And I will see you next week. Goodbye.